In a month's time, we are going to be getting Darkwing Blast, a set which is going to have fantastic support for Sprite, Tyralement. We're getting Labyrinth, and we are getting a completely new revamped look at Draco Slayers, as well as an introduction to a new archetype in Bystad, which looks like it's going to be absolutely insane. But did you know there is also support for Blackwing? I've never played Blackwing before. I was talking with Dylan in our group chat for the team about the new cards and just like how crazy Blackwinged Assault Dragon hypothetically could be due to how generic it is and that it has quite a strong effect. And this led us both to try and work out how strong Blackwing actually can be after the support. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what all these cards do, as well as what all the stuff in the extra deck does, the sort of like the game plan of why I've built the deck the way I have. And then I'm going to show you 3 combos that I've come up with in the last couple of days with the help from Dylan. Yes, let's get straight into it. So there is a mix of some old cards in here, which are really strong, and some new cards, which are also really, really strong. So we'll start with the top. We have got Blackwing Cimoooooooo the Poison Wind. This is one of the older cards. It's not like old to the point where it came out with like the original Blackwings, but it's like in that middle sort of section where Blackwing got support, which wasn't good enough to make them meta relevant. So Cimoooooooo's absolutely crazy. If you control no monsters and you have this card in your hand, you can banish one other Blackwing monster from your hand, place a Black Whirlwind from your deck in your spell and trap zone, and you immediately get to normal summon Cimoooooooo the Poison Wind. This is a normal summon by its own effect, so it doesn't conflict with any other effect that gives you an additional normal summon, which is important to know because there are instances where you will use that in combos. I guess I should talk about Black Whirlwind here, in case you don't know what Black Whirlwind does. It's a ridiculous search card. So when a Blackwing monster is normal summoned to your field, you can add a Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand with less attack than that monster. So you kind of have this like totem pole effect of like, you can normal summon Cimoooooooo the Poison, who is 16, so you get to search for anything that has less than 1600 attack, which is the majority of the deck. We're playing 3 of this new card, which is Soufri the Illusionary Spark. This card's absolutely crazy. It has 2 effects. When this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 card that mentions Black Winged Dragon from your deck, except another copy of himself. And the second effect is you contribute 1 monster and special summon a Spark token, then you take 700 damage, and you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this effect, except Synchro monsters for the rest of the, in perpetuity. You can't activate Synchro monsters. You can't summon monsters that aren't Synchro monsters in the entirety of the turn when you activate the second effect to summon a token. You'll then notice it says you can only use this effect of Blackwing Soufri the Illusory Spark once per turn, which means this first effect, which is on normal summon, is a soft once per turn. Well, it's not really once per turn at all, it's just when you normal summon this card, which means when you do get additional normal summons, you can use 1 Soufri to get additional searches. We are playing 3 of Vat the Knave. This card is absolutely crazy. So it has the text that a lot of the Blackwings have that allow them to special summon themselves. So if you control a Blackwing monster other than a Blackwing Vat of the Knave, you can special summon this card from your hands. You can only summon it once per turn this way, and during your main phase, you can send this card to the field and 1 or more Blackwing non-tuners from your deck to the graveyard whose total levels equal 8. And if you do, special summon 1 Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck. So this Foolish Burials, I mean, it could Foolish Burial technically, I guess, 6, I suppose, if you were sending 6 level 1s, but you're never really going to do that. You tend to send only 1 or 2, and then you just get to special summon a Synchro monster from your extra deck, which you can use as material for other things. This text confused me for a very long time, saying you can send this card in the field and 1 or more Blackwing non-tuners from your deck to the graveyard whose total levels equal 8. Initially, I thought that meant that the Blackwing non-tuners had to equal 8, but there's a comma here which changes the whole meaning of the sentence, which was very frustrating when making combos, but we're sorted that out now. This card's really, really good, and it's also a tuner and a level 2. I'm playing 2 Bora the Spear and 2 Crystal Cracker Dawn. Bora was one of the initial Blackwings that came out. If you control a Blackwing monster other than himself, you can special summon him to the field, and he does piercing, which isn't really relevant. It's just a free body you can stick, and he's also 17, so in the instances where you have Black Whirlwinds, you can normal summon Bora the Spear, and you can search pretty much the entirety of the deck, which is why we're playing this one. I'm also playing 2 Crystal Cracker Dawn. Essentially the exact same thing. If you control a Blackwing monster, you can special summon him. This one can't be destroyed by spell trap effects once per turn. I'm playing 2 of each because obviously if you control another Bora the Spear, you can't special summon Bora the Spear, so it makes sense to have a mixture of these guys, and they're big. We are playing 2 Shamal the Sandstorm. This is another new card. He also has 2 effects. First off, he is a level 4 tuner. Very strong. Most level 4 tuners used to have restrictions on them, especially in the Blackwing cards. Like there's one of them that says if it's special summoned, it can't be used as synchro material, which is absolutely crazy. This one does not have such a restriction, but it has 2 effects. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard and place a Black Feather Whirlwind from your deck face up in the spell and trap zone. We'll get to that card later. And the second effect is if a Blackwing Synchro monster and or a Blackwing Dragon is special summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card, then target 1 Blackwing monster in your grave, add it to your hand, and then take 700 damage. You can only use each effect of Shamal once per turn. We're playing 1 Zonda the Timing Knight. This is another new card. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except synchro monsters. That's why you control it. You can only use one of the following effects once per turn. If it's normal or special summoned, you can target 1 monster on the field and return it to the hand. Pretty strong, I guess. The second effect is you can banish this card from your graveyard and special summon 1 level 5 or higher Blackwing monster from your hand or deck, then take damage equals to its attack. So this is basically like malicious, except it's hard once per turn because it can summon another copy of itself since it is a level 6. This is a card you will be sending off Vata in the combo. Is it Vata? It is Vata, right? Yeah, Vata, where you don't have like your standard lines with Simoon the Poison and that sort of stuff, because it just gets, you get to summon a synchro and you get to send this and you get to summon another extender. You get to do more stuff, which is pretty strong. Anything else I need to summon this card? Well, it doesn't have to summon itself. So we have another target. We have Blackwing Kogoroshi the Wanderer. This is a level 6. The effect is not really relevant. It says if a face-up Blackwing monster controls draw a card effect and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from the hand. I guess that's kind of relevant. And if you make a synchro monster with it, your opponent can't respond to that summon, which is pretty strong. But it is a target for Zonda, which is a tuner. So yeah, if you need to slap a tuner on board to make a synchro play, this is an option. We are playing 1 Hamlet in the Dust. It has the condition that you can special summon it if you control Blackwing other than himself. Once per turn, if this card is normal special summons, you can target one other Blackwing monster that you control, increase this card's level without monsters. That doesn't tend to come up. The reason we're playing this is because when we send a 4 off of that of the Knave, we need a level 2 to send. This one drops it itself if you can add it back to your hand with something like Shamal the Sandstorm. But it also has 800 attack, which means it is kind of relevant when normal summoning for Black Whirlwind, since it can search for, not that of the Knave, where's the one I wanted to search? Orochi or Chinook. Like, we are playing Chinook, who is also a level 2 who you can send. We're playing 1 of each because you don't really want to see these cards, but you kind of want to have a level 2 in deck to send for that of the Knave. And you can search Orochi if you normal summon him, and that's kind of the only reason I'm playing it. Chinook is another new card. I'm not a big fan of this card, to be perfectly honest. I don't really think it does enough. It is effect veiler, kind of. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard and target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. You send a Blackwing Synchro monster or a Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck to the graveyard, and if you do, until the end of this turn, the target monster loses 700 attack, and also its effects are negated, and it is a quick effect if you control a Dark Synchro monster. Yeah, it's kind of okay. If you open it up and you get to set up, pretty good. If it's in your opening hands and you can't set up, pretty bad. But the fact that it can send the Synchro monsters and Blackwing Dragon will be relevant for a card we get into later. One of Roshi's Scroll is just a level 1 monster that can special summon itself, and if it's used as Synchro material, you can target a monster in the field and change its battle position. Not really that relevant, to be honest. It's just a level 1 you can summon. Blackwing Zephyros Elite, bounce a card, special summon himself, take some damage. Phantom Knight Silent Boots, we are playing Bardiche, so I'm playing the smallest Phantom Knight engine I could possibly put in. 1 Blackwing Twin Shadow. This card's pretty cracked, so you can return 2 of your Blackwing monsters that are banished or in your graveyard to the deck and or extra deck, 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner, and you special summon a Blackwing Synchro monster or a Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck whose level equals the total levels of those monsters. It is treated as a synchro summon. But if you control 2 or more Blackwing monsters, you can activate this card from your hand. So you can do this on turn 1, and it mentions Blackwing Dragon, so you can search it off of Sufri, which is pretty strong. It's just a free synchro monster from using cards from your graveyard. It's absolutely crazy. 1 Fogblade, 1 Shade Brigadine. We're playing Bardiche, and getting an extender is always good. Black Feather Whirlwind is the card that Sandstorm can search. So once per turn, if you special summon a Dark Synchro monster from the extra deck, you can target one of your Blackwing monsters or Blackwing Dragon with lower attack. that is banished or in your graveyard and special summon it. And once per turn, if a dark monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can remove 1 black feather counter from your field instead. This is generated by Blackwing Dragon and the new Blackwing Dragon Synchro, so you often can protect your board pretty well, and it protects any dark monsters, not just Blackwing cards, which is kind of relevant. The Monster Reborn effect of this card is a soft once per turn, which means if you bounce it with Zephyros the Elites or another way of returning it to the hand, you get to use it again, which is pretty strong. We've already talked about Black Whirlwind. We have 2 copies of Small World, so I feel like there is a lot of monsters in this deck, and a lot of them that don't really do a lot on their own, so you often will find that you'd rather trade out a monster in your hand for exactly Cimoooooooo the Poison or Sufri, depending on the game state. So playing Small World, the bridge we're playing for Small World is Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. It's not the best this format, but it does have some like niche interactions with some combo decks, and it's not awful. But the reason we're playing this is because it's a Dark Dragon that shares no stats with any of the Blackwings. So it is, you can always go from any Blackwing through Phantasme to any Blackwing. It can also go through the boots if you have to do that, but that does shut down your Wild line. But it also has 1800 defense, which means you can go from Ash to Phantasme to any of your Blackwings as well, which means Phantasme literally bridges every monster in this deck to any Blackwing in the deck, which is really relevant. I guess it makes it to any monster, because you could technically go from a Blackwing to Phantasme to Ash if you wanted to. I can't imagine that comes up very often, but it possibly could. We are playing 3 Pot of Prosperity. You can go for 6 in this deck, because the extra deck is not incredibly tight, but if you Pot of Prosperity for 6 and then do your full combo, you're going to have no gas in the extra deck at the for your turn 3. But I guess if you need to get the combo, that is fine. Traditionally, I guess you'll be going for 3 more than you will be going for 6. Darkwing no More is mandatory this format. We have ways of playing around this card, which other decks don't, which is why I kind of like it, I guess. I wouldn't play this for an event, I don't think, but maybe I will, who knows. We're playing 3 Ash Blossoms, as I said, and 1 Phantasme. Right, let's get into the extra deck. So we're playing 1 Northung the Starlight. It is a generic level 6 synchro. If it's special summoned, you get to inflict 800 damage to your opponent, and 1 face-up monster your opponent controls loses 800 attack and defense. Not really that relevant, to be honest. I guess it could come up in time. The effect we care about is during the main phase, you can normal summon 1 Blackwing monster in addition to your normal summoner set. As I said earlier, Cimoooooooo the Poison's normal summon is by effect, which means it doesn't use your actual normal summon, which means you can use your normal summon on something like Sufri, and then midway through your combo, you can make a no-fung, get Sufri back, and normal summon it again to get the effect again. We're playing 2 Boreas the Evil Wind. This is a level 6 Synchro Tuner monster, which will be relevant in a moment. It's Foolish Burial on legs. If this card is synchro summoned, you can send a Blackwing monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's level becomes that monster's. It also has an effect in battle. When this card destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can banish your Blackwing monster from your face-up field or graveyard, and you can special summon the destroyed monster to your field and defense position. It's not an effect that's going to come up very often, let's be perfectly honest, because this card will not be on the board at any point when you're doing combat, I don't feel. If you're going into this card, you're going to be able to combo into something that's better, but the Foolish Barrel effect, the fact of the tune, and the fact it can modulate level makes it very, very strong. We're playing 1 Obsidian Hawk Joe. This doesn't tend to come up in combo lines, but it is a level 7 synchro, which occasionally comes up, and it also allows you to target a level 5 or higher winged beast monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Also, if your opponent attempts to activate a card that targets it, you can negate the activation, I'm pretty sure. You can target 1 other Blackwing monster you control that would be an appropriate target. Now that card effect attack now targets the new card. I guess that could come up, but I just wanted a 7, which could extend. We're playing 2 Blackwing Dragon. We can obviously summon this with the Vat of the Night. It's also generic, it's level 8. The effect isn't very relevant since this card came out in, 2008, 2009. If you take damage from a card effect, you can place a black feather counter on this card instead, and you would lose 700 attack for each black feather counter on it. So this is one of the cards that gets black feather counters for Black Feather Whirlwind. You can remove all black feather counters on this card and target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. That target loses 700 attack for each counter you removed. And if you do, you inflict damage to your opponent equals the attack loss by this effect. So again, that could also come up in time, potentially. Yeah, I don't know. We're not really using this card for its onboard effects. 1 Blackwing Assault Dragon, which is the new version of Blackwing Dragon. It is a level 10. It requires a tuner synchro monster and a non-tuner monster, but it actually doesn't. So be either synchro summoned or special summoned by banishing one Tuna Synchro monster and one Blackwing dragon from your field and or graveyard. So this means that we can banish the Blackwing dragon, which is really easy to cheat out with Vata, and the Boreas the Evil Wind from a graveyard just to stick this monster on the field at the end of our combo, which is really strong. It helps you play around Nibiru a little bit, because if they Nibiru you can just go to the end phase, or not go to the end of your main phase and summon this guy, and you still have an interruption. It has a pretty decent effects. Each time your opponent activates a monster effect, you place a black feather counter on this card immediately after it resolves, and if you do, inflict 700 damage to them. So it is Black Flare Dragon, the Red Eyes XYZ. It just burns when your opponent does damage. Why do they keep releasing cards like this? Guess what? This also comes up in time. Plenty of ways of winning in time with this deck. More importantly, though, during your opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you contribute this card with 4 or more Black Feather counters on it, and destroy all cards on the field. So it's a complete board nuke if your opponent has activated 4 monster effects since this card's been on the board, which is really, really strong, especially when you combine it with Blackwing Full Armor Master, which is unaffected by other card effects. It's just towers, it's 3,000 attack, really easy to get into, and it's unaffected by the board disruption. So you just nuke the entire board, you keep your Armor Master, your opponent has no cards, and you just beat them down. So yeah, it's unaffected by card effects. Each time an opponent's monster activates its effect, you can place a wedge counter on that opponent's monster after that effect resolves. And once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls with a wedge counter, take control of it. Once per turn during the end phase, you can destroy all monsters on the field that have a wedge counter. So it even has a really strong effect, to be perfectly honest, as well. We're playing one Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. An issue with a lot of these cards is they give you random locks. So I've already talked about how Sufri locks you into synchro monsters if you use the second effects. Cimoooooooo the Poison locks you into darks, and I think Vata also locks you into darks. Is that true? Only special summon extra monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except dark monsters. So yeah, you get locked into dark monsters super, super early. Occasionally you get locked into synchros. So I'm playing Draco Berserker the Tenyi because it is an interruption, it's generic, and it doesn't require you to have any other setup like Borrowed Savage Dragon does. Obviously, when you get locked into synchros from Sufri, it's impossible for you to get a link in your graveyard to attach a Borrowed Savage Dragon, but there are a lot of combos where you don't have to use the second effect of Sufri, so we are still playing the Savage Dragon. One Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. We're playing this card because it's a level 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's a level 9. And you can make it with Blackwing Dragon, because this card is not a Blackwing card, it's a dragon card, which is odd, the fact that it's a dragon. But it's a dark dragon, so you can use it as the material for Hot Dragon Archfiend Abyss, and it means in your sets where you end on Fogblade, you can, if your opponent Dark Rolls you can like Fogblade a card and then chain your Abyss to negate the Dark Roll no more, which is pretty strong. Playing one Evil Swarm Nightmare, it's a dark card which is interruptions. It's very easy to get rank 4s onto your board because you play a lot of different 4s and a lot of 4s that can special summon themselves, like Zephyros, and you can special summon Bora and Crystal Crack Dawn if you control Blackwings, and you can also special summon a level 4 Winged Beast monster from your deck when you go into Wise Strix. So if you are doing the combos where you don't require going into Synchro plays or going into Wise Strix and something level 4, can allow you to go into Evil Swarm Nightmare, which is a non-once per turn detached to Book of Moon, an opponent's monster that was special summoned. Pretty strong against Sprite because they can't go for their XZ plays or can't go for their Link plays with face down monsters, but he is kind of small, so he can be dealt with quite easily. We aren't playing any more Raid Raptor cards. A lot of Blackwing lists will play a lot of Raid Raptor cards to trigger and search for bloody rank up spells and going into like Savage Dragon Infinity or whatever the hell they want to do. I don't really want to play a build like that. I want to play like more of a pure Blackwing sort of build. And I needed some Link monsters for the Borrowed Savage Dragon since it is the best level 8 synchro monster, and Wise Strix and Bardiche fill that role. Obviously Bardiche, we all know what it does. Send a PK, set the traps, go off. Yeah, so that's the deck. We'll quickly jump into some combos. I've got 3 for you. 2 of them are going to be 1-card Sufri combos, and then I'm going to have a Cimoooooooo the Poison combo. So we'll start with the Sufri combo. Don't want to press play, I'm going to press next play. So normal summon Sufri, use the effect, and you get to add a copy of Vat of the Knave. Vat of the Knave is going to special summon itself and use the effect, sending itself and the level 6, always forget the names, Zonda from your deck to special summon Blackwing Dragon to the board. We can then use the second effect of Sufri to special summon a token, getting rid of the Blackwing Dragon, and then we can use the token and the Sufri to special summon a Blackwing Boreas the Evil Winds, who can Foolish Burial a copy of Sandstorm. We can then use the level 6 in our graveyard to special summon a Cimoooooooo the Poison, who is a level 6, and since we sent a level 4 with our Boreas, he is also a level 4, so we can go into a full Armor Master, which you'll remember is the Towers monster. Since we have a Synchro Tuner, we're going to activate the effect of Sandstorm here to add back the Cimoooooooo the Poison Wind for if our board is cracked for next turn. But since we have a Blackwing Dragon and a Tuner Synchro on a graveyard, we can banish both of them to go for the Assault Dragon, which is the board nuke if our opponent activates 4 cards. So off of this one copy of Sufri, we've managed to put a Towers up, a board nuke, and follow-up in hand from the Cimoooooooo. Pretty simple combo, not the greatest, but off of one card in Blackwing, without having to go for a bunch of link plays. It's pretty strong. We'll go to the second combo now, which is also a one-card Sufri combo. We are going to normal summon Sufri, and we are going to do a similar thing of adding Vat of the Knave, and then we're going to special summon the Vat of the Knave from our hands. We can then use that as effect to send a copy of this level 6, which I've already forgotten the name of, Zonda, from our deck to our grave, and then we can special summon the Blackwing Dragon. We can then again use this Zonda from our deck and special summon a copy of Cimoooooooo the Poison. This time we're going to use the effect of Sufri to tribute the Cimoooooooo to special summon a token, and then again going to the level 6 like we did previously. Here we are going to send a level 1 from our deck to the graveyard, in this case Orochi, to make our monster level 1, and then we can use both monsters on the field to go for a copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. And we have the Blackwing Dragon and a Tuner Synchro in our graveyard, so we can banish them to special summon the Assault Dragon. If we were playing Vayu, which is a Blackwing monster I'm not playing, it is a level 1 tuner, which has the effect that you can banish it and a Blackwing non-tuner from your graveyard to special summon a Blackwing Synchro, whose level equals what those monsters' levels add up to, obviously, since it's a Synchro play, technically, and that effect's negated. If you're playing that card for this combo, instead of sending the Orochi, you send Vayu, and you have follow-up to summon a Synchro monster on your next turn. But the effects are negated, which is why I'm not really playing the card, and I'm not really too big into the Blackwing Synchros in this list. Like, I'm not playing so many of them that I want to waste a summon with the Vayu. So it makes sense to play Orochi in my mind. So we have a board nuke, and we also have a negate, which is pretty strong, just one card. Right, now to get into the meat. We're going to do a 2-card combo, which is Poison plus any Blackwing. So in this case, we're using Crystal Cracker Dawn, since it doesn't do anything in the banish zone. So we're going to use Cimoooooooo, and we're going to banish the Crystal Cracker Dawn, and we're going to place a Black Whirlwind, and then immediately after the effect resolves, normal summon Cimoooooooo the Poison Wind. This will trigger Black Whirlwind, not to banish the top card of the deck, but to search for a Blackwing monster with less attack. And we are going to add Sufri. We can then use our actual normal summon and trigger both the Illusory Spark and the Whirlwind. The Whirlwind grabbing the Vata and the Sufri grabbing the Shamao. We can then special summon the Vata to the field, and then discard the Sandstorm to place a Black Feather Whirlwind to the Spell Trap Zone. And then we can use the Vata to send a copy of Zephyros and a copy of Harmaduke, is it? Or something to that effect? Harmartin, to the graveyard to special summon the Blackwing Dragon from our extra deck. Since we summoned a Blackwing Dragon or a Blackwing... Well, since we summoned a Dark Synchro monster, I think it actually is. Yeah, we summoned a Dark Synchro monster, so we can trigger the Web Feather Wind to special summon this Vata back, and then we can use the Vata and the Sufri on our board to go into the No Thumb, which is the extra normal summon. Since we... Ooh, that's a misclick. Since we Synchro summoned a Blackwing Synchro monster, we can banish the Sandstorm from our graveyard to special summon a Sufri. This will allow us to use the extra normal summon from our guy to summon Sufri and trigger the Black Whirlwinds and the Sufri over again to get a search for an Orochi and a copy of Twin Shadow, which of course is the trap. If we control 2 Blackwings, we can activate a hand. We can then activate Zephyros Elite in our graveyard to bounce the Black Whirlwind and special summon the Zephyros the Elite. We can then use our Summon the Poison and our Zephyros to go into a copy of Wisestrix, and use the Wisestrix effect to special summon another copy of Sandstorm from our deck. We can then use the spent extra normal summon and the Wisestrix to go into a copy of Bardiche, and use that effect to send a copy of Silent Boots from our deck and set a Fog Blade to our board. From here, we can use the Boots effect, banishing itself to add a Shade Brigandine. We've had to do things in this order at this time because we can't use the Twin Shadow until after we've used the Shade Brigandine, because if we do, we can't resolve the Shade Brigandine since we'd have a trap in our graveyard, if you're wondering why we're doing things in this order. So we're then going to use the Shade Brigandine and special summon itself, and then we can use the Twin Shadows, placing back the Zephyros the Elite and a Vatten the Knight from our graveyard back into the deck to special summon our copy of Boreas the Evil. We can then use the effect of Evil to send the level 6 from our deck to the graveyard, keeping him at a level 6. We can then use our level 4 Tuna Sandstorm and our Shade Brigandine to go into a copy of Borrowload Savage Dragon, since we have the White Strix in our graveyard to attach to it. This gives us our first negate. I guess we had the Fog Blade, but our first monster negate. And then we can special summon the Orochi to speak to our Blackwing and use the Blackwing Dragon on our field to go into Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. And then we can use our level 6 Evil and our Sufri to go into an Armor Master. This isn't quite the end of the combo because we have the Blackwing Dragon and the Evil in our graveyard, which we can banish to special summon the Assault Dragon. So from Poison plus any Blackwing monster, well, let's have a look. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 9 cards, so we've gone plus 7. We have another 3 cards in our hands, which obviously we didn't start with. And we have a Omni Negate, technically 2, but obviously once per turn. We have the Armor Master, which is the Towers monster, which can be actually quite difficult for decks like Sprite and Tyrannoman to deal with, especially when they have other negation to actually play around. Very, very strong. We have the Assault Dragon, which is the board nuke. Obviously, you'll be leaving this to last because you don't want to nuke all of your own board, but it is something you can use in a last resort. We have the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, which is a targeted negation, and we have the Fog Blade, which means if our opponent activates Dark Lord no more, we can chain the Fog Blade on one of our cards, let's say the Bardiche, and then we can change the Abyss on the Dark Arena board to negate it to make sure that we still get to keep our Assault Dragon and our Savage Dragon live, as well as keeping, well, I guess he's on a bit of a card effect, so he doesn't care about Dark Lord anymore. We also get to keep the Whirlwinds and the other Whirlwinds, since this would normally be sent to the graveyard with Simoon, but since we've banished it with Zephyros, it's obviously not going to go to the graveyard, so we get to use this for next turn. In the graveyard, we also have this copy of Zonda, which we didn't use the effect of, which can banish itself to summon a Tuna monster from the deck. There's no real good way to use it in this combo, but being able to send it as follow-up doesn't hurt in the slightest. So yeah, that is all 3 combos. This is the best combo that I could come up with just Simoon the Poison and a Blackwing monster. It was like my 6th attempt because I just kept reading the restrictions on these cards wrong. But this is a pretty strong board, especially for Blackwings. Like I said, if you're going more into the Link sort of like spammy ways with Bystrix, you can end on like Kali Yuga and stuff, since you can just like search for rank ups and then just go into, you know, Kali Yuga and just blank your opponent's turn. But that's boring. I wanted to play like proper Blackwings, and this is what I came up with. So I'll go back to the deck now that you understand what. No, I don't know, I won't because I've lost connection. We'll quickly log back in, and we'll show you the deck one more time. This is the list if you want to pause here just to copy it down. There's not really anything I'd really change. Maybe you can find room for the 3rd Small World, because you often do brick on these other little birds that you don't really care about. But yeah, it's pretty strong. If you've enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and drop comments, and I'll get back to any questions that you guys might have. And yeah, I'll see you next time.